Hi, my name is Megan Friend, and I teach third grade in Owasso. My car pulled up into the elementary school parking lot, and I stepped out and shut the door. As I walked into the building, this time, I was walking in as a 16-year-old cadet teacher, not an elementary student. The smell of the hallway brought back memories of my favorite pepperoni pizza hot lunches, and the sound of the children buzzing down the hallway eagerly wanting to get to recess reminded me of playing marbles at my favorite tree on the same playground. I found my way to my former first grade teacher's classroom, who would be serving as my mentor teacher for the year. For 1 hour a day, I would shadow her and learn the ropes of teaching, seeing if it was something I wanted to go into as a college major in the very near future. As I stepped foot into the classroom again, now much bigger, older, and seemingly towering over the young students, so many feelings came flooding back. But one feeling surpassed the rest. The feeling of how much Mrs. Giberson, my first grade teacher, had cared about me both in and out of the classroom. As a first grade teacher, Mrs. Giberson created such a warm and caring learning environment for her students. The relationships she built with them were everlasting. After leaving her classroom as a first grader and into middle school and high school, she would pick me up each summer and make a day of helping her get her classroom ready, and then take me out for ice cream later. She was at my high school graduation open house, my wedding, and even sent us a gift when our first child was born. The modeling of a positive relationship between a teacher and a student has been at the core of my values as a teacher. Because I was on the receiving end of knowing how a teacher could make me feel, I want to build those same everlasting relationships with my students. Now, 16 years later, and through teaching nearly 400 third and fourth grade students, building relationships with my students has been at the forefront. Many teaching fads have come and gone over my time as a teacher. Curriculums and standards have changed, classroom management styles have evolved, standardized assessments have been added, taken away, and added again, but one thing has remained constant in my classroom that has been tried and true: establishing connections and fostering true, meaningful relationships with my students. Through getting to truly know my students as individuals, I'm creating an environment where they want to work for me. They want to do good. They don't want to disappoint or let me down. Oftentimes, I think it's natural for an educator to question themselves. Does what I'm doing even matter? Am I truly making a difference? Will my students even remember? This past weekend, I ran into a flight attendant whose son I had 16 years ago. He's now in his 20s in the Air Force, majoring in international business and getting ready to study abroad in Germany. His mom gave me a huge hug and said, "Connor still talks about your class." I was beaming with pride hearing of all of his accomplishments. This week, I also received an email from a former parent whose son had just graduated from high school. This was a student who was touch and go for a long time. Life had thrown him some curveballs, and it was unsure if he would graduate or not. The email was a thank you for, even in third grade, seeing the good in her son, building a relationship where he wanted to come to school every day and not giving up on him. In her email, she stated, "Please never underestimate the long-lasting impact you make in the lives of the children and their families who are lucky enough to have you as a teacher." Over the years, I have, like my first grade teacher modeled, attended students' graduations, open houses, weddings, and even sent them gifts as they've started their own classrooms on their own journey of teaching. Anytime I strike up a conversation with a student and reminisce on our time together, not a single one remembers taking the NWEA or the M-STEP. They don't remember who was in their class or what writing projects we did. They don't even remember their DRA scores. What they do remember is how I made them feel and the relationship that we had. You may have heard of teachers being compared to superheroes. I don't know how accurate that is, but I do know that we have a pretty important superpower: the power of making students feel heard, cared for, and loved.